So we got to tabbed pages. So here in this app, you see we have two tabs on the bottom of the screen, page 1 and page 2. In iOS, tabs appear on the bottom of the screen, and often they have an icon. In Android and Windows, they appear on top of the screen. Irrespective of that, the technique to create tabs is exactly the same. So let me show you how to create tabs in your applications. So here I've got a page called Main Page. It's just a basic content page. I haven't changed anything here. Also, in the app class, I have set the main page property to this new page. Now, in order to add tabs, we should change the type of main page to a tabbed page. So tabbed page is another derivative of the page class. So here I'm going to change content page to tabbed page, and similarly here. I'm going to remove this element. Now in the code behind, we should also change the parent of this class to tabbed page. Now this tabbed page has a property called children. Look at the type of this property. It's an iList of page, which means we can add various pages here. A content page, or we can add a navigation page that wraps another content page. And by the way, these pages could be existing pages. So earlier we built this contacts page. I can add that here. So add new contacts page, like this. So basically, because the type of this children property is iList of page, we can add any derivatives of the page class here. Now in the real world applications, most of the time we add these pages in the XAML. So I'm going to delete these few lines here. Back in our XAML file, this children property you saw is the content property for the tabbed page, which means we can add our pages right here. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to add a simple content page. Content page. Now we give this a title, and this title will appear on the bar where we have the tabs. So I'm going to call this page 1. Now we can set an icon here, and this will be displayed in iOS. This icon should be 30 by 30 pixels. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to use one of the icons that we added in one of the earlier lectures. So in iOS, look inside the resources folder, we've got 3 images: clock, clock at 2x, and clock at 3x. If you don't have these image files, I've attached them for you if you want to code along with me. So I'm going to set the name of the image file, clock.png. Now inside this content page, I'm just going to add a label. Text is going to be content of page 1. And then horizontal options to center, and same for vertical options. Now the content of this page doesn't really matter. We could have anything here. What I want you to take away is how to create tabs. Now I'm going to duplicate this. And for the second page, I'm going to change this to page 2. I'm going to use the same icon and change the label. Let's run the application. So this is what we get. 2 tabs, page 1 and page 2. Now in most real-world applications, the content of each page is more than just a label. So chances are your pages can get complex. In that case, it's better to implement each page in a separate XAML file and simply reference them here. For example, I've created this content page 1. So just a simple page with a label. Now here we could have a complex structure. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to reference this in our main page. First of all, we need to add an XML namespace declaration because we're going to use a type that is not part of the standard XAML. So XML namespace, call this local by convention. Now CLR-namespace, and we set this to hello world. Now I'm going to add another page here, local contacts page. And then we set the title to contacts and the icon to clock.png. So this is how we reference an external page. Let's have a look at the result. So our first tab is our context page. And here we have the master detail as we implemented in the last lecture. So master detail. So these pages are independent of each other. Now let's look at the second tab, page 1. Here we just have a label. What if I want to add a navigation bar here? We need to wrap this page inside a navigation page. Navigation page. Now I'm going to move this here inside the navigation page element. But if you run this application, you're going to get an error. Because navigation page needs a root page. So earlier when we created a navigation page object, navigation page, we passed the target page, in this case contact detail, in the constructor. Now how can we pass an argument to the constructor of a class when using XAML? We use an element that is defined in Microsoft XAML. So that is called x:arguments. Just like we have xClass or xName, we also have xArguments. So now I'm going to put this content page inside xArguments. So when XAML parser parses this XAML file, it will create a navigation page object, and it will use this content page as the argument to the constructor of navigation page. Let's run the application. Note that our second tab does not have a title or an icon. So even though we have set the title and icon on this content page, but it's not displayed because eventually it's this navigation page object that we add to the children property of the tabbed page. So I'm going to cut these two attributes here and assign them here. Let's run the application one more time. Okay, now our second tab has a title and an icon. And finally, to extend this example, again here we can replace this content page with a reference to an external page. So I'm going to delete this. We already defined this local namespace. So I can reference local : content page 1. And we get the exact same output. So this is all about tabs. Next, I'm going to show you how to implement carousels.